You are muted. You can mute or unmute yourself by pressing star 6.
Good evening, Board Secretary Richard Janarone. I have now allowed in the members of the public into the meeting so we can start the November 17th, 2020 Board of Education meeting. And I will turn it over to Board President, Mrs. Solis.
Okay, I think you can hear me now.
Yes, correct.
All right, sorry about that. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the November 17th meeting. Adequate public notice of this meeting was provided by the Secretary of the Board on May 22nd, 2020, to the Home News Tribune and the Clerk of the City of New Brunswick. The time and location of this meeting and all meetings of this body are posted in City Hall, 78 Bayard Street, New Brunswick. Roll call, Mr. Janarone.
Okay. Mr. Ortiz. And all board members, you'll have to hit star 6 in order to respond. Bear with us a second. Mr. Ortiz?
Here.
Mrs. Sadowski?
Here.
Mrs. Seawood? Mrs. Seawood?
I think you muted all of us.
Mrs. Seawood, can you hear me? I'll move on. I'll come back to Mrs. Seawood. Ms. Sevilla?
Here.
Mrs. Shikaitis?
Here. Again, everybody, it's star 6. Yeah, I couldn't unmute a minute ago, but now I can. I'm here.
Mr. Spencer? No, he unmuted.
Here.
Ms. Varela?
Here. Here.
Dr. Caldwell?
Here.
Mrs. Seawood? Now having a little bit of technical difficulties. I know Mrs. Seawood is on the line. Mrs. Solis?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you so much, Mr. Janarone. On 3, we'll recite the flag salute. 1, 2, 3. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. This is a reminder that the next regular monthly Board of Education meeting will be held on Tuesday, December 15th, beginning at 7 p.m. via audio conference call. If I could please have a motion to approve the minutes of the October 20th Board of Education meeting.
So moved.
Second.
I'll take a roll call. Mr. Ortiz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sadowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Seawood. We'll get this to work. Don't worry. Ms. Sevilla.
Yes.
Mrs. Shukaitis.
Abstain.
Mr. Spencer.
Yes.
Ms. Varela.
Yes.
Dr. Caldwell.
Yes.
Mrs. Seawood.
Yes.
Mrs. Solis.
Yes.
And for the record, Mrs. Seawood is also obviously in attendance and marked as such. Motion approved.
Thank you. Item number 4, the superintendent's report. Dr. Johnson?
Yes, good evening. For the month of October, we have enrolled 9,857 students. Our staff attendance, certificated attendance is at 98%. Our student attendance is at 91%, and there were 0 cases of HIV. Just want to talk briefly on what we have been doing so far virtually in terms of virtual instruction. It continues to be delivered virtually with the exception of 2 classrooms at our McKinley Kindergarten Center, which opened up for in-person instruction on November 9th. Transportation has been provided as needed, and staff and students are following established safety procedures and protocols. We were planning of opening other programs in other schools, and that will be determined in the coming weeks. However, we are monitoring a spike of COVID cases in Middlesex County, and most likely will delay the opening of those programs in the other schools, and likely returning to full virtual instruction at the McKinley Kindergarten Center. So we are definitely monitoring this spike in Middlesex County. In regards to curriculum and instructions, I just want to give a big thank you to our teacher leaders, our reading specialists, our curriculum supervisor, our assistant superintendents who participated in a webinar that was titled Making the Shift to Virtual Guided Reading. This webinar was presented on November 11th and hosted by Scholastic Education, and it was showcasing our teaching practices for virtual guided reading, which was actually developed by our English language team. So I just want to personally thank them. It was a great way for us to share our practices with the external community, which had participants all over the country. I believe over 3,000 individuals registered to receive a recording, and there were about 537 individuals that participated live. So again, thank you for showcasing the work that we do here in New Brunswick. We also have kicked off our after-school academic support programs, which have begun in the following schools: Lincoln Annex, Woodrow Wilson, and Roosevelt, where students will have access to a teacher during evening hours for support with homework, assignments, and projects, and anything else that we believe students may need academically. All other schools are anticipated to begin in December. In terms of meals distributions, again, for all students, meals, the district continues to its current grab-and-go nutrition plan at 8 district locations on Mondays and Tuesdays and Thursdays and Fridays from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. I do want to, again, thank Mr. Janarone and his team for adding some more conveniences for our families. So now curbside pickup is now available at the New Brunswick Middle School site from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m., which allows families to drive up and pick up their meals. Our meal delivery service is now in full swing, and we are currently delivering meals to over 1,600 families who have signed up. Again, for devices, our students, if they need a replacement device or have problems with the device, our device depot continues to operate at each of the following 4 locations: New Brunswick Middle School, McKinley Community School, Red Shore Elementary School, and Woodrow Wilson School on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 8:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. And in regards to communication, today I communicated with our staff and notices will be sent home to parents and guardians to restate and add clarity to previously communicated district requirements regarding mandatory face mask and social distancing. Furthermore, we wanted to ensure our families continue to practice safety protocols, knowing that the holidays are upon us and understanding that we are seeing a spike in Middlesex and in the state of New Jersey, as well as other neighboring states in our country. We are also continuing our efforts to strengthen our ability to connect with our school community. Today, we released our own mobile communication app. It integrates directly with our existing website and social media platforms and will be available to anyone who wishes to stay connected to New Brunswick Public Schools. More information will be shared with our families in the coming days. That concludes my remarks. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Johnson. We'll need a motion to approve the superintendent's report.
So moved.
Move. Second.
Okay, roll call. Mr. Ortiz.
Yes.
Mrs. Sadowski.
Yes.
Mrs. Seawood.
Yes.
Ms. Sevilla.
Yes.
Mrs. Shukaitis.
Yes.
Spencer.
Yes.
Ms. Varela. Ms. Varela. Dr. Caldwell.
Yes.
Mrs. Solis.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Item number 5, the student representative report, Ms. Kalani Nemhard.
Bear with us a few seconds while Ms. Nemhard mutes herself, and then she can give her report.
Yes, hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As we continue in a remote learning environment, I would like to report that it is very challenging, requires a large degree of focus, and yet it is gratifying to see my success and that I have learned to be accountable for my own learning, with a mass majority of my peers having the same view. New Brunswick High School teachers and administrators are very careful and offer great assistance, creating interesting lessons, and are compassionate and helpful if we have internet or other technology issues. We hear negative stories quicker than the success stories. Many of the students I have personally spoken with are successful, even though they say they have to work very hard to keep up with the work. Teachers, counselors, and administrators are keeping in constant contact with students to support their learning and emotional well-being. I'm also happy to report that the first marking period ended on Monday, with the second marking period starting today. The first 45 days of school went by very quickly. A freshman class parent meeting took place on November 2nd in a Google Meet platform. The program was very attended. Parents were presented with important academic information, expectations, and the importance of being present and active in their classes every day. Along with that, on November 7th, nearly 200 students from New Brunswick High School and surrounding school districts participated by taking the SAT assessment. COVID protocol was approved and adhered to without exception. Students and staff maintained appropriate distancing, wore masks at all times, and conducted frequent sanitizing throughout the test session. Clive Staples Lewis once said, "You can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending." That concludes my November report on the progress of New Brunswick High School. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Nemhard. Item number 6, the facility committee report, Mr. Spencer.
Yes, Madam President. The facility committee met with DMR and DEFCO, who provided an overview of the schematics of 50 Jersey Avenue School, which the committee reviewed and provided our input. The committee was very satisfied with the schematic and we are looking forward to the finished product, a state-of-the-art school. The 50 Jersey Avenue School is moving forward. Moving forward with the process. We will provide updates once new information has become available. That, Madam President, concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Spencer. Item number 7, the Athletic Committee report. Mrs. Sadowski.
Thank you, Madam President. The Athletic Committee met, and fall season update. Girls tennis has finished their season. Ashley Caldwell was made all conference and all GMC team. Cross country ran in sectionals on November 14th. Girls soccer played in the state sectional game yesterday. They did lose 3-2 to Saraville. Their record, I think, was 6-7. I'm not perfect on that, though. Boys soccer were in the state sectionals today. They lost 1-0 to Scotch Plains Fanwood. Jeffrey Rodriguez scored his 50th goal on 11-14. Representatives from the Middlesex County College will meet on Wednesday. They will be speaking to our Play It Smart 11th and 12th graders, athletes on admissions, financial process, and EOF program via Zoom tomorrow. And the football played their last game on Saturday, 11-14, with a record of 2 wins and 5 losses. All our athletes have played their hearts out, and we offer them our thanks for representing New Brunswick so strongly. And every one of you really made all the rest of us Zebras very, very proud. On Friday, we are waiting from a winter sports update this Friday from the NJSIAA. We're not really sure what is going to go on and whether we will have winter sports or not, depending on what the governor has to say and what the NJSIAA follows. So please check our website for further information. And I need a motion to accept our bank reconciliation, and then that is my report.
So moved.
Okay, do we have a second? I'm sorry, miss. Do I have a second, please?
I second, Benny.
Okay. Mr. Ortiz.
Yes.
Mr. Sadowski.
Yes.
Seawood.
Yes.
Ms. Sevilla.
Yes.
Mrs. Shukaitis.
Yes.
Spencer. Mr. Spencer.
Yes.
Ms. Varela. Ms. Varela.
Yes.
Dr. Caldwell.
Yes, I'm not sure about that Ashley Caldwell kid, but I approve the report.
Mm-hmm.
Mrs. Solis.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you so much. We will move on to item number 8, the Curriculum and Policy Committee report. Mrs. Seawood.
Madam President, we did meet last week, and during our meeting, we had a couple of presentations. One, the first was Dr. Lennox Small gave us an overview of the virtual instruction conference presentation he did and participated in, committing to anti-racist curriculum and instruction. So the feedback was good, that we received. Our second presentation was from Ms. Parisi with the preschool program. We reviewed the annual operational plan, which we do every year, and they're making good progress and continue to work with the community providers also. Then we received, we had a couple of updates. We reviewed the student attendance policy, and the attendance rate is calculated a little differently in the virtual learning environment than it is at a 7:30 to 2:30 day. The district does have follow-up procedures in place, so we received an update on the truancy protocol and the current number of students and how they're able to log in the virtual world. You know, all of this is new to everybody. Sometime it's planned for November for the parent university to have a meeting, and it's supposed to start or launch in the end of this month. Holy Family Parish is involved and wants to help get the word out. So it should be on our website, if it's not already, about the parent university and how parents can access more information when needed. We reviewed the professional development opportunities that have been presented during the last month. Paraprofessionals have a training program, have been participating in technology learning sessions because now they're being required to do more than they had usually done, given their role in in-person instruction. The leadership teams continue to have virtual learning walks, which has proved helpful. For anyone called upon to do substitute duty in the district, there's a couple of policies that we're requiring them to have in-person instruction. That's the policy on emergency and crisis situations. We talked about the after-school academic support, which is virtual also, and that has begun. I think Dr. Johnson indicated the 4 sites that are using it. We looked at the high school 9th grade student progress report and the action plan for improving, for monitoring and improving where needed for student instruction. I believe there's 3 policies that were revised, and the committee is recommending adoption on the first reading because these are existing policies, but we needed two. One for property inventory and the other is school district security. So these are new. We also looked at the resolutions that were presented, and they are included in the consent agenda. And I think that's all we. Is there anything else, Patty? Varela?
No, you covered it all.
Okay. And Ms. Hill, is there anything you wanted to add? So I think that's it for the 2 committees.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Seawood.
You're welcome.
We will now move on to item number 9, the Educational Services Commission of New Jersey. Dr. Caldwell.
Thank you, Madam President. As you might suspect, this has been a challenging time for students with special needs, obviously needing more in-person instruction. And fortunately, a month ago, we have gone to in-person instruction and have had actually great success for the first 2 weeks, and then a couple students in 2 schools had COVID, and so we had to, quarantine those schools. But it's actually gone relatively smoothly. And I just want to say for the teachers at the commission and the teachers in New Brunswick, this is really the test. We have such dedicated teachers, and the great teachers really stand out now. And we're just thankful to be so fortunate with our teachers. So that's my report for today. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you so much, Dr. Caldwell. I'll move on to my report. I did just want to mention to everyone that I had the opportunity to meet with Ms. Lagos Hill last week at the McKinley K Center, and I was able to see firsthand the way that the pre-K students are receiving their in-person instruction. There are currently 2 classrooms at the McKinley K Center. Each class only had 4 students. They were able to practice social distancing. I was able to be there for about an hour, and I was able to see them during mealtime and during gross motor time, and also during classroom instruction. And I was very pleased to see the way that the teachers were able to help the students. Each child has their own, all of their own resources, if you will, all their own Play-Doh, all of their own paper to be able to manipulative, to be able to learn in the classroom with their teacher's guidance. So I was very, very pleased. And like Dr. Johnson said, we'll just have to wait to make any further decisions as far as more in-person instruction goes with the COVID cases rising in not just the state, but specifically our county. So we will just hold off and see how that goes. I also am very pleased to know that this week we are expected to hit the 1 million meal distributed. And I don't know, Mr. General, if you know which day this week it will be. I thought it was going to be either today or tomorrow. And I'm very pleased that our district is able to provide the nutritional, to meet the nutritional needs that our students have during this time. And again, Rich, I don't know if you know, but I'm very pleased to know that we are still working very hard as a district to make sure that no child goes without. And aside from that, I did just want to wish everyone a very happy Thanksgiving on behalf of the entire Board of Education. We hope that all of our families, employees, and staff stay healthy during this season, again, especially with all the COVID cases rising. Remember to keep your gatherings at a minimum and embrace technology, embrace virtual meetings, and better times are coming, I am sure. So we are wishing everyone a very happy Thanksgiving. And with that, I will move on to item number 11, the public comment.
Thank you, Mrs. Solis. Yes, Mrs. Solis, you're absolutely correct. Today was actually the day we served our 1 millionth meal since March 16th, since we have been in virtual instruction since the pandemic. So, congratulations to that lucky customer. I'm not sure who it was. So we have 3 members of the public that have registered to their intent to speak. Member of the public I'll call upon is Miss Danielle Moore. Miss Moore?
Hi, yes, can you hear me?
Yes, good evening.
Hi, yes, I would like to start off with saying God bless all the workers, the Board of Education, the state, all the volunteers who's been, even the crossing guards who's been helping out with making sure that the children and families are getting these lunches and meals. Thank you, Jesus, on that. My main concern, what I'm calling tonight is, all of you are still on video on phone call. This is still through the phone.
Yes, ma'am.
I just don't understand you when you say that it's about safety, where you, just like the cases are rising, you're still not doing meetings. I believe that the meetings aren't being held because you just don't want to feel the pressure of the community. And the reason why I say that, because, wow, I know a lot of the children are, bored, different types of things, but I still don't see why that you're letting this sports go on. That's like regards to New Brunswick just playing East Brunswick. That was where it was in Mr. Chuck O'Donnell's report, due to where how many cases broke out with COVID-19 cases broke out with East Brunswick. You say that you care about the safety, but like I said, due to where you're not having any meetings, but why are you letting the children play football, sports, and all, come in contact? And I really say the way I just saw by Mr. Charlie Cladeville listed, to show the list of every hospital being filled up. No, they have no available beds. And I think you're really taking a risk of letting our children, even though it's not mine, but I treat every child, I think of every child as my own, where I think you need to cancel all these sports where you're really taking a risk on COVID. If you're saying that you really care about the safety of it, you're not able to have meetings, which, like I said, I think just because you don't want to feel the pressure from the community, I think you should cancel the sports for the safety of our children. And then the next thing I would like to say is, at the city council meeting, it was mentioned that was for 50 Jersey Avenue, where we already know it's contaminated land, that if it is contaminated, even though we already know it is, how they're saying that, the kids will be in permanently at 40 Van Dyke Avenue until you find another location for the school to be built. How this is one thing, due to where if everyone would really work together, stop hiding pieces of what's going on with this project, I don't think it would have been a problem. Just like, I don't know if you know, how Robert Wood Johnson, DEFCO, lied about the first where they put it through the planning board. Never said anything about a parking lot, a power plant. Now that's going for to see if they're going to approve that to even be able to do the Rutgers Cancer Center. So like I said, there's not a community. I think it's very poorly, the Board of Education, the city, the planning board, where communication and what's going on. And like I said, due to where 50 Jersey Avenue is not a site, a place for kids to go to school. Well, I'm pretty sure one of you seen on Facebook or advertisement how many people they're picking up a day over there from drugs, laying and rolling in the ground and everything, where I done placed so many videos. And like I said, all of you where you don't stay nowhere near here, you ought to be ashamed of yourself because you wouldn't dare want your child to be around that. And like I said, well, plan due to where it even goes that way by what city council is saying. So I think you need to go listen to the video about what city council is saying, and then also listen to the video for the planning board. Where wow, that was 2.5 weeks ago. That meeting stayed up until 2 a.m. due to where you had so many people fed up due to where DEFCO lying, stating about the parking deck and the power plant. So like I said, too much lying is going on, and that's what's creating a big situation between this with the Lincoln Annex School. But like I said, believe me, when you really see, God forbid, I pray that it doesn't. But like I said, due to where you don't live over here, you don't see.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. I appreciate. I know I tried to give you a 30-second warning, but I wasn't able to do so. Thank you very much for your comments. We will move on to the next speaker. Mr. Cradiville, Mr. Charlie Cradiville.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. The floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Janarone. I'm sure you saw this morning I sent over 2 questions. Wanted to know what contaminants are present at the site that's proposed for the replacement Lincoln Annex, and also what the timeline is for that new school. Can anyone answer those questions?
You'll receive your response in writing, Mr. Cradiville. You can proceed with your comments.
Oh, it's great to hear that I'll be receiving a response. Do you have any idea when?
Not exactly sure.
Okay. Well, I think that those are things that both should have been figured out before you moved forward with this. But nevertheless, I do, have some points to make about it. I think that the Lincoln Annex School should not be destroyed. The people who, push that are pretty apparently not invested in this community. I know at the last meeting, Madam President, you acknowledged that your, family no longer is part of that community. Your child has moved on from the Lincoln Annex School, and that was something you knew was going to happen when you tried to appear as if you were sympathetic to the cause of the parents at that school. But when you voted to close the school and destroy the school, you knew that your family would not be directly paying the consequences of that decision, and that others would. Another person who also perpetrated the same kind of fraud was Jimmy Staten. And I believe he should be investigated because there's no evidence that he was ever actually elected to be the president of the Lincoln Annex PTO. And this is a question that I've asked Mr. Hendricks and have gotten no response for over a month now as to, what happened to him and whether he was ever properly chosen for that role in the first place. I do, can't help but find it curious that the one person in the school who thought it was a good idea to get rid of the school was made the president of the PTO, spoke at one meeting of the Board of Education in favor. Was the only member of the public to ever speak in favor of it. And now I hear that he has taken his child out of the district and will also not have to live with or directly be impacted by the consequences of this scheme. I do think that the board should spend some time in closed session tonight. If you're doing a closed session, you should really talk about my lawsuit against this board for violating the Open Public Records Act. It's extremely concerning what happened in that case. Of course, I was just requesting records because you guys were being shady about your dealings with Devco and how far back they went, so I filed an open request to get emails. Your side in the case swore to the fact that there were over 5,300 emails, and this was, Mr. Hendricks was just banging the drum about how ridiculously large this request was, how overly broad it was, and ultimately you dodged my request for 6 months before I retained counsel, sued you, and then, and only after Judge LeBlanc ordered the board to produce a log of the emails in question was it revealed that it wasn't 5,300 emails. The sworn certified statements of Mr. Janarone were false. The statements Mr. Hendricks made before the judge were false, and at the end of the day, there were less than 700 emails in question. A log still was never produced, could not be produced by this board, and ultimately all the emails were printed out in a very wasteful fashion and handed over such that these are digital documents that are now in paper form that now I have to get them scanned in to be able to have them redigitized. And at the end of the day, you had the nerve to send me a bill as if I'm going to pay you for this. The reality is you're going to have to pay my lawyer because you were wrong, because the board was violating the Oprah law, even though that law was relaxed in March. You had more leniency, and you still ran afoul of it because it took you so many months and you made so many excuses. And then when people looked into those excuses, you were revealed to have been untruthful, to have been misleading, and ultimately
8 more seconds.
Okay, well, I think the board needs to look into this case and some of the other cases that have been brought against the New Brunswick board. I don't think they're being handled well by your counsel, and ultimately the taxpayers of New Brunswick are paying a price because of that. So I would urge you to look at these.
Thank you very much for your comments, Mr. Credible. The next member of the public to speak is Ms. Linda Stork. Ms. Stork, are you there?
6, yes.
Ms. Stork, the floor
Good
is
evening,
yours.
everybody. Yes. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm trying to figure out, does the board still own the Lincoln Annex building? Hello? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, Mr. Please proceed with public comments.
Well, do you still own the building? The Lincoln Annex, you're not going to tell me if you still own it? I mean, I should say we still own it as a taxpayer in this city. Is this not public knowledge? Do we own it or not? Oh, wow. Okay. No, I have some concerns with proceeding to raise that building. We really need to hang on to it. There's a number, especially during coronavirus. It brings up the whole question of busing, which is the most challenging part of trying to keep kids safe, is the transportation, and most of them would be able to walk there. There's also the HVAC problem. I guess you're not going to tell me what kind of filters we have in the older schools. I wanted to ask, it's suggested they should be at least, a rating 13, a MERV rating, and it's very often difficult to do that in the older schools. I'm thinking maybe that's why in Resolution Y, it talks about an emergency basis to buy air purifiers. It's much preferable, though, to be able to fit, a newer system like the one that we have at the present Lincoln, and it's in with the superior filters. It's the older schools that have the problem. And I'm also trying to figure out what the future is of Lincoln School, because the new school is so much larger than Lincoln Annex. It makes me wonder where are all those other children going to come from? And also, as I pointed out to you before, the research is very, very clear that a school that large is detrimental to the academic achievement of our students. It's been proven, and it's been replicated in 7 different states using all the public schools in the state. So there's no reason to think that we would be any different. This will actually negatively impact the academic achievement of our students. And you're not going to tell us when it might be ready. I'm also wondering who, we heard in the facilities report that they've seen a schematic for the new school, but who had the input into what that should look like? Hello? What? So that was the other concern, besides that the fact that it's way too big, and in fact, it's as big as 2 schools should be. It is double, more than double the recommended size, and there's just really no question about that. I don't know how a Board of Education, with the best interests of the students, can go ahead with a plan that will negatively impact the academic achievement and emotional well-being of those students. So, I mean, the evidence is in. A wide consensus seems to have emerged, referring to
Ms. Stork,
Fulton,
just
1996.
20 seconds left.
Schools larger than 1,000 are unwise choices for any community, but the consensus clearly suggests that schools in impoverished communities should be much, much smaller. There it is. And we're doing the opposite. And I don't really know how you can justify that. And just to what the
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Thank you, Ms. Stork, for your comments. 5 minutes is up. That concludes the public comment portion of the meeting, Mrs. Solis, but I do know that Mr. Hendricks had a few comments.
Yes, Madam President, board members, and members of the public, I cannot let go unresponded to Mr. Radoval's speeches, remarks, comments. Every lawsuit he's had, he's lost. Every one of them costing the district thousands, tens of thousands of dollars. And this lawsuit now that the court has not made a ruling on that. We voluntarily produced all the records. It was not easy during this pandemic. There were 1,849 pages of emails. The request was overly broad. The judge has not yet ruled on it. He'll rule on it December 4th. So to say he won, and it was mishandled, and we're going to pay his fees, let's see what it brings in December. I think he's wrong, as he always has been wrong in the past on all these matters of litigation. He lost every case. I want to make that very clear to the board and the members of the public. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your input, Mr. Hendricks. We do always value your input and your guidance as our board attorney, and we will continue to follow your guidance as our board attorney and not the suggestion of Mr. Cradaville, I did also just want to mention from the public comments that although I no longer have a child at Lincoln Annex School, we do have another board member, Mrs. Patricia Varela, that has a child enrolled in that school. Aside from the fact that a board member has her own child enrolled at that school, it should be noted that as board members, we all take these positions on voluntarily for the betterment of the students of the entire district of the city of New Brunswick. And although my 4 biological children are enrolled in the city schools, I am always thinking about all of the students in the district, as I know all of the other board members do as well. So it's not just our own children, but we are also city residents. We are also city taxpayers. So the decisions that we make as board members for this district is not just because of our own children or who we have personally or related to us that is enrolled at any one of the schools. It is because we are truly invested in the well-being and the empowerment of our students of the entire city. And please let that be known. I can say that in the years that I have served as a board member for the city of New Brunswick, I am so proud to know that I am amongst such an educated and such a well-rounded group of individuals who care so deeply for the education and well-being of the students of the city of New Brunswick. And I can't thank everyone enough for all of their knowledge that they've instilled in me in everything that they do and everything that they've done and all of their dealings with the city. And for every single staff member and every single employee of the district, please know that we always make all of the decisions, not just for our families, but for every single person that is involved in our district with everyone in mind. That is who you've elected to represent you. And please know that during election time, we are your voice. And I hope that every single person listening in this evening feels that they are represented through the board, because at the end of the day, you have elected us to fill these positions. With that being said, Mr. Generone, I would like a motion from the board to accept the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call. Mr. Ortiz.
Yes.
Mrs. Sadowski.
Yes.
Seawood.
Yes.
Mr. Villa.
Yes.
Mrs. Shikaitis.
Yes, I abstain on items F as in Frank, K, R, and T as in Tom.
So noted. Mr. Spencer.
Yes.
Ms. Varela.
Yes.
Dr. Caldwell.
Yes.
Mrs. Solis.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Item number 13, the Finance Committee report, Dr. Caldwell.
Thank you, Madam President. The Finance Committee report was presented before you. Do I hear a motion to accept the report as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All right. I have a motion from Mrs. Sadowski, second by Mrs. Seawood. Roll call. Mr. Ortiz.
Yes.
Sadowski.
Yes.
Mrs. Seawood.
Yes.
Mr. Villa.
Yes, and abstain on page 25.
So noted. Mrs. Shikaitis.
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Spencer.
Yes, abstain on page 5 and 7.
So noted. Ms. Varela.
Yes.
Dr. Caldwell.
Yes.
Mrs. Solis.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Item number 14, the Personnel Committee report, Mr. Ortiz.
Yes, Madam President. The Personnel Committee met last Thursday. We reviewed the report handed to us by Dr. McCoy. I need a motion to accept the report as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call. Mr. Ortiz.
Yes.
Mrs. Sadowski.
Yes.
Mrs. Seawood.
Yes.
Sevilla.
Yes.
Mrs. Shikaitis.
Yes.
Mr. Spencer.
Yes.
Ms. Varela.
Yes.
Dr. Caldwell.
Yes.
Mrs. Solis.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you, Mr. Janarone. If I could have a motion for adjournment, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, take a roll call. Mr. Ortiz.
Yes.
Mrs. Sadowski.
Yes.
Mrs. Seawood.
Yes.
Ms. Sevilla.
Yes.
Mr. Shikaitis.
Yes.
Mr. Spencer.
Yes.
Ms. Varela.
Yes.
Dr. Caldwell.
Yes.
Mrs. Solis.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion approved. We are adjourned.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Wear your mask. Use your sanitizers. Keep a 6-foot distance.
And don't have large
Goodbye.